Good afternoon, I hope everyone's well today. Thank you for watching. It is appreciated as always. The Labour Party does not care about Britain, the native British people. They see us as no different from anybody else in the world. All cultures are equal according to them, and your voice, your opinions, and your priorities for the United Kingdom do not matter. What matters is the international rules-based order and what they have deemed is appropriate and necessary for every single country in the West. This isn't a English thing, a Welsh thing, a British thing, a European thing. This is a existential threat to the entire Western way of life. There was a Labour Party MP, a senior cabinet minister, on Question Time last night, and he's flat out lying to the British people. I'm going to play this clip and then we'll have a little discussion about it.
And when you see that the majority of the people in these boats are children, babies and women who have been...
No, they're not.
No, you have got to take... No, look, I get this is...
North than 90% of them are adult men.
Completely correct. The vast majority of them are fighting age men from vastly different cultures to what we enjoy in the West, and specifically the UK. They do not share our values. They are here for what they can get, what they can take. They will not be net contributors to the economy. They will be net drains on the economy. If you cannot control your borders, you do not have a country.
Let me be... No.
Hang on, you're saying that's not true?
No, look, this is why it's controversial.
It's not true. Is it true or
I'm
not?
saying it's not true. Now, look, and I'm saying that this is controversial for a reason, and it's not...
It's controversial for a reason because it isn't true. It's a flat out lie. Most of the people coming over from France, a safe country by the way, they are not in any danger and they are here to get a better deal for themselves. The migrants themselves, the illegal boat people themselves, I don't necessarily blame them. This is a failure of both domestic and international government policy.
You're told not to challenge the audience on Question Time, but I'm going to, so let me tell you this story. When there are babies and children put into that position by human trafficking gangs...
They're not put into that position by human trafficking gangs. Let's get that straight. Let's get that clear. Their wards, their guardians, are the people putting them in harm's way. Nobody else. And nobody forced them to pay people smugglers upwards of 5 to 10k to get over here to get, quote-unquote, safe passage to the United Kingdom. No genuine refugee will have that type of money to spare. That's a fact. I don't think that the Ukrainians, the women, the actual women and children from Ukraine, paid up to 10k to be illegally smuggled here. All the genuine refugees from British Hong Kong, I don't think that they were dinghy diving. I don't think they were paying to enter the country illegally. Why is that? Because they've got nothing to hide. They're completely genuine.
Who are coming across in the channel with skin burns from the oil from those boats mixing with the salt seawater.
Crimea River. Crimea entire Niagara Falls. I really couldn't care less. Call me mean-spirited, call me mean-hearted. I really could not care. I care about the strain and pressure on the native people and the people in Britain. If you do not want to put yourself at risk, do not make that crossing. It's as simple as that.
I would ask any of you to look at those babies and children and say, go back where you came from.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I am saying. I do not want them in the United Kingdom. If you break into my country, you've shown me everything I need to know about your intentions. Thank you. And that's enough from you for the moment. Now, of course, this has real-world consequences because these people need to go somewhere. They need to stay somewhere when they get here. Obviously, they get free bread and broad, and they are putting immense pressure and strain on the limited resources we have in Britain. There's a HMO, that's the abbreviation, House of Multiple Occupancy. My best friend actually lives in next door to one of these. The person next to her sold their house to Serco and they use it as a HMO. They're on the third batch of illegals in the past year. They just get turfed out and they get rotated on a conveyor belt because they don't integrate, they have problematic behaviour, they've been caught outside local schools photographing children and generally making people feel insecure and unsafe in their own communities. This is what government policy has brought to Britain, and I ask you, do you feel enriched yet? Do you feel better off? The social contract is broken in the United Kingdom. You used to be able to afford to raise a large family. My grandparents, my mother's parents had 11 children, and my dad's parents had 8 children. People just don't do that anymore because they can't really afford it. And my nan, who lived in Anfield and Liverpool, she had a 2 up, 2 down, and she was basically like a baby processing factory, and she wouldn't have had it any other way. I love my nan, and I miss my nan, and she was one of the best people I ever known. And a lot of my common sense and values come from my nan, so people say that women shouldn't have children and shouldn't have families anymore. I would argue the opposite. There's nothing more fulfilling for a woman to do than to have children. That's just my opinion on the matter. These actions of the government policy, they do have real world consequences. This is one such consequence which I'm going to show you now. This isn't a isolated incident. This is happening all over Britain.
I must be the first person in the country to get evicted by his landlord because he wants to house the fucking hotel people. Literally got a text last night saying you got a month's notice, maximum 2, want you to move out, we're redecorating and we're not renting the property back out to you pretty much. I don't know where I stand with that or how it fucking goes down or what the fucking crack is, but that's a text I received last night. He wants me out. Why? There we go. What do we do, guys? What do we do? Do you know what I mean? But also, next door, he owns a house next door. You've got the Romanian family living there. They're getting kicked out as well. So that's what I'm trying to say, guys. Look what Keir Starmer's done now. All his hard-working people getting kicked out. Now we've got nowhere to live. He wants to house them. Doc.
So think about that. You've got salt of the earth people all over Britain, native born and bred. They're being turfed out of their homes and they're renting because they can't afford to buy a home. They're being turfed out now by private landlords who they're already charging extortionate rents to for guaranteed rent and guaranteed income for people that have just got here. Why would the government do this? Why would the government do this? I mean, my priority as a government would be to encourage local people, local communities, to have more children and to actually keep our population above replacement rate. That's what countries on the continent are doing, such as Poland and Hungary. Why aren't Britain doing it? It's almost like it's part of a plan. It's almost like it's by design, in my view. And then we have the Education Secretary actually pretty much admitting at stuff like this on TV. She actually turned around and said that they don't want the population to expand locally for the indigenous. That's factored into their plans with school places. So we're going to play this now.
So what support have you given to state schools then to cope with the influx of 13,000 private school pupils?
Firstly, I don't accept the wider premise of all of this, but there is also a change in terms of the birth rate. So we're going to have fewer children and young people coming through state schools anyway because of the fall in the birth rate.
It's almost like the substitute population coming in from other places. The government's thinking it's cheaper to import adult people into the UK and they can just contribute to the economy straight away, than actually having to invest time, energy and resources in a native population to grow a population that way. Because if you do it the way that they're doing it currently, where they're just substituting the difference in the replacement rate with people that are already fully grown, then you haven't got the costs. You haven't got the costs of housing them, you haven't got the costs of healthcare for them, for school education, any of these costs that are linked to people that you raise from year dot until they're full-time workers. You don't have any of those costs to factor in. It's deeply insidious and it's deeply morally and ethically wrong in my opinion. As always, your mileage may vary.
I'm confident the schools are able to manage this process, but I don't simply accept some of the framing around this. And it is a question, however, of priorities. Do we prioritise tax breaks for private schools, or do we prioritise investing in state education? And I choose the latter.
I'm sorry, when you talk about the birth rate, are you mentioning the fact that the birth rate, of course, is plunging? You're banking on the fact that British people, at least, aren't just having children anymore, and you're factoring that into your plans. Is that what you just said?
Exactly. The government is actually factoring in and banking on the fact that you don't want or can't afford kids. Maybe the propaganda that's been forced down men and women's throats for the past 10 years that the opposite sexes need to hate each other and to set man against woman, family against family. Maybe that was part of the design. Maybe they don't want people to go along. Maybe they don't want you to think that men and women, go together and make a cohesive family unit. Maybe they want the state to control every aspect of your life.
It is. So we've got falling rules in our schools. So we've got fewer children moving from primary into secondary. That's been happening for some time.
What are you doing to reverse it? What are you doing to change the trend? Are you putting incentives in place to make sure people have more kids? Are you maybe saying men and women complement each other? Those would be some of the things I'd be doing. I would be giving tax breaks to women to have more kids. I would be incentivising the family unit. I'd be making cost of living more affordable by making sure that people can maybe grow their own food. Maybe they can contribute to the economy locally, start local businesses, actually keep things local and affordable.
And that means that, we do have a situation where there are falling rules in our schools in terms of the number of places that are required.
Should the government not be doing more to try and promote the birth rate? You look to places such as Hungary, where women are being given massive tax breaks to have more children and start families. It seems like we're pretty lacklustre in this country, and it's not just a side talking point. It's if you listen to people such as Elon Musk or whoever, they'll say it's an existential threat to humanity.
I agree. It is an existential threat to the Western world. If you replace the native population of the Western world with people that aren't from the West, you've got no Western world anymore. The greatest civilization the planet has ever known dies. And this is by design, by the sounds of it. That's what the Education Secretary is pretty much admitting to here.
So I want people to make choices about what's right for them in terms of family shape and structure. I do hear from quite a lot of people that they are making choices about family size because housing costs are high, or they're concerned about job security. And we are taking measures to support families. For example, the expansion of childcare to.
Maybe instead of doing the expansion of childcare, maybe you incentivise for either the dad or the mother to be able to stay at home by giving tax breaks to these people. State childcare is no substitute for the parents raising their own children. It is no substitute. Nobody will care more for your kids than yourself and your partner.
Provide more help for families, so that will make a big difference, and what I'm setting out today around free school meals will do that too. But I want people.
Again, if it was affordable, if living in the United Kingdom was actually affordable for a family, why would you need free school meals? There's certain situations where free school meals would be appropriate. Say you've got a single family or whatnot, that would be appropriate and that support should be there. But it shouldn't be the rule, and it shouldn't be for everybody.
People to make the decision that's right for them, not to be driven by economic circumstance. And I do hear from people that sometimes they've made that decision because it's just too hard.
Maybe the government wants the life in the UK for the native population to be hard. Maybe they will have a solution for that as well in due course. Of course, that's just speculation on my part, but it's something to think about. Just always be aware. The government isn't your friend. They're there to push their own narrative and own agenda. That's always been my opinion ever since Brexit, and it's getting worse by the day in my view. Now, the hope I bring to you, and the hope I have for the rest of the country, is we've actually got local politicians that have recently been elected, such as Reform politicians, this one up in Lancashire, and they're actually speaking about these things now. They're actually putting are voices out there, which is a benefit. So I'm going to play this now. This is an example of a Reform councillor hitting the ground running and doing what failure of Tory and Labour governments have done for decades, if not hundreds of years.
People being put in hotels in Lancashire, for example, which you do, how do you stop that? Because it's the Home Office that makes that decision, and you don't really have the powers not to have them, do you?
Well, Lancashire County Council does work with the Home Office, but it's the language that's used. It's everything, such as forced migration, is how they describe people arriving on boats, and these people have made a choice to come on those boats.
Completely agree. They've made a choice to come on those boats. No one forced them, gun to their head, to do it. They paid to be trafficked to the United Kingdom. They're complicit, the government is complicit, and the facilitators are the people smugglers who are making shit ton of money to do this. Do not be fooled.
You know, Serco is a government contractor. They're advertising now 5-year leases guaranteed to landlords. And what's that going to do? It's going to make some landlords ask British families to leave to put migrants into housing.
It's already happening. You've seen the clips. It's already happening all over the country. People are being forced to leave their homes and their rented accommodation because they have no security. And it's an absolute travesty and a disgrace, and has been enabled by the Tories and the Labour Party, and they both deserve to be voted out of power permanently.
This is appalling. This is absolutely wrong. You might have a young family that's out on the street sofa surfing, and this is government money.
Completely agree. We're paying for this, we're funding this, we have not consented, I do not consent. I will continue to make videos like this on this subject until the message starts to sink in. People are waking up, we're not taking it lying down anymore, and we need to make our voices heard. More and more channels like mine need to do what I'm doing. I'm not doing this just for my benefit, I'm doing it for the benefit of the country. At the end of the day, this is between me and my country, and the country that I want, our United Kingdom. The politicians happen to be in the way, in my view, and they need to be removed, democratically of course, and we need a government in that will actually do what we want and actually listen to the population. The demos is being ignored. They always get ignored. Why is it that the management of the state is always top down, never bottom up? That's what the House of Commons is meant to be. It's meant to be for the common people, the regular people, against the elites. It's like we've continued to substitute one type of elites, the royalty, for another type, the champagne socialists, the people that mock you if you've got an England flag in your window and think that they're better than you. It's a disgrace, and it all needs to change. Root and stem reform is needed. As always, if you think I'm wrong, let me know. If you think I'm onto something, let me know. Like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. You have a good afternoon, and thank you again.